Is your gym open yet? Hey, good morning. Where are we? What time is it? What's going on? Sorry, guys. Here's the thing. This is the last time, I can assure you of this. The Wednesday ownership top stack strategy show will get pushed back, rearranged, or moved. We've been making some tweaks on the data side for our NFL tools and everything. And there's only so much time you have to do something like that. Generally speaking, you want to do it early in the week and not on like Saturday night or Friday or Sunday morning. So it's kind of running into this. We're bumping into some issues, but we're good now. I think we're ready to go. Like I think we've got everything squared away. And it's just going to make things better because I think we're going to have better information earlier in the week than we have in the past. So ultimately, this is going to be a big win-win for all of us. But we're happy to have you guys with us. I'm Dave Loughran at Loughie_D on the Twitters, LOUGHY_D, joined as always by the man, the flannel god, as they call him. Oh, the Showdown Shaman, but I only reference that on, Mondays and Thursdays.
Sure. Makes sense.
We got to stay consistent with our gimmick. You know what I mean? You shit on the people, say they can't find the like button.
Right.
We
don't do that bit on this show as much.
No, we don't. Because it's less time sensitive. We got shelf life here. But that's Neil Orfield at Player Q DFS. Go give him a follow. Say hello. What's up, brother?
I'm doing well. I'm resigning myself. I feel some relief in now. I'm just cheering for the Vikings to lose games. Like I've been really torn because I've been like, I don't think they're good enough to be a real contender. I want them to tank for one of these great quarterbacks in the upcoming draft class. And now, I've been torn because I'm like, well, but also Justin Jefferson is like such a stud. I don't want him to be upset and leave because we're clearly tanking. But now that he's out, I feel a little bit better. Like maybe the team can tank and still somehow keep Justin Jefferson. So I'm feeling good about the Vikings just needing a tank for the rest of the year. Hopefully get Caleb Williams, but we'll settle for one of the other great quarterbacks in this class.
Are you convinced that they're going to tank though?
Not at all. I don't think they will.
Okay, but you're saying you'd be okay with it. I totally agree with your stance if it happened.
Yeah.
The worst thing that could happen is they go 7-9 or 9 or 9-8 or 8-9. That would be the worst case.
And they have a super easy schedule. So I'm like, that is probably the most likely scenario too. They were working out some veteran quarterbacks yesterday, I saw. So that's a good sign that maybe they will trade Kirk Cousins. I really want them to trade Kirk Cousins to the Jets or wherever. They could trade Kirk Cousins and just totally tank with a bad quarterback. But yeah, I still think the most likely scenario is like, this is a middling team that, doesn't make the playoffs and also doesn't have a great draft pick. That would just be the most Vikings thing ever. But at this point, I know at least what I'm hoping for, which is just a full on tank.
Absolutely. Now I want to take a quick look at our week in review here. Ben and I yesterday on the podcast exclusive went over the, red zone, the spy, the power sweep, all those big, mid stakes single entry contests with 100 plus K up top. Guys, a good amount of single stacks again. A lot of skinny stacks again. Some interesting builds. My best lineup in those single entries, what ended up being a Jalen Hurts double stack and then Chase and Boyd, obviously without Burrow. So got a little bit weird there. We're going to talk about that. I want to ask you, I want you to see something though. So I just tweeted this out a few minutes ago. And I want you to see this because it's outrageous how bad this Washington secondary has been at giving up the long ball. And this is all just to set us up for later in the show when we inevitably have to talk about Desmond Ridder facing this Commanders team coming off a 300+ yard game. Listen to this, man. So here's the longest receptions the Commanders have allowed this season. Marvin Mims, 60-yard touchdown. A.J. Brown, 59-yard touchdown. DJ Moore, 58. DJ Moore, 56-yard touchdown. Marvin Mims, 53. Brandon Johnson, 50-yard touchdown. Hail Mary, but still. DJ Moore, 39. Devontae Smith, 37. Gabe Davis, 35-yard touchdown. DJ Moore, 32. Rondell Moore, 31. Diggs, 30. Diggs, 30. A.J. Brown, 28-yard touchdown. A.J. Brown, 28-yard reception. That is in 5 weeks, Neil. In 5 weeks, they've allowed 6 receptions or pass completions of 50+ yards. 4 of them were touchdowns. 13 completions over 30 and 16 over 25. That is terrible.
And we have the perfect situation to take advantage of that with Desmond fucking Ritter this week. That's not
what I'm
ideal.
saying,
That's
though.
like what is going to happen in that game.
That's
I have no.
what I'm saying.
Maybe this is the chance. Maybe Van Jefferson comes in. Maybe he does have a good game to start his career on the.
I
Falcons.
liked your tweet on that yesterday. But Pitts is $3,500, dude. He's $3,500.
Is he? Oh my god, I hadn't even looked at the pricing for Pitts yet. That is insane.
Dirt cheap. And you know that he's not like in line as just 2 yards and tackled. Like, he's gonna get some shots. Anyway, I thought you'd find that interesting because it's the Falcons this week, and Ritter's coming off his best passing game as a pro.
Yeah, I mean, good for Ritter. BSPerf says Cousins to Falcons would be interesting. That's another spot that I've heard with Kirk Cousins that would be interesting. And to be clear, somebody in chat saying Kirk Cousins not the problem. I don't think Kirk Cousins is the problem. I understand that it's the defense, but like having a young quarterback would be exciting. That can like take you for the next decade plus. Is so like people saying maybe they need to go after defense. Yeah, I understand the defense is the worst part of the Vikings. The offense is great, but like Kirk Cousins probably not around after this year anyway. So I'd rather go after a quarterback that can be like the franchise quarterback for the Vikings.
Back up for a second, though. Kirk Cousins isn't the problem. He's also not the solution.
I think a team could win with, like, I think if the Vikings trade Kirk Cousins to the Jets, he's good enough to take a team that has a great defense.
Like the Jets.
Yeah, I agree. No,
I'm saying if you put Patrick Mahomes on the Vikings, he can mask some bad defense. Like, I don't think Kirk Cousins is good enough to fully mask a bad defense, take him deep into the playoffs. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I 100% with you there.
All right, you ready for this Millie Maker lineup, the winner? And by the way, guys, appreciate your understanding. I saw the comments in chat. We got the best community out there for a reason. I'm not bullshitting you when I say that. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. Subscribe to the channel. That helps us a long way. We're north of 90K subs, thanks to you guys. And remember, all of this stuff is in podcast form, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it. And we've got the podcast exclusive stuff out there. The single entry 3 max. Ben and I went a little long yesterday because it was such a good show. Like, great show. I was learning. He was learning. Hopefully you were learning. And then every Friday, podcast exclusive, only in podcast, breaking down the afternoon slate with Greg Ehrenberg. If you have to bookmark it, come back on Sunday afternoon, do that too. But we'd love to have you check that out. Subscribe to the pod, leave a rating and a review. Say some kind words if you like this stuff. I read them, and I thoroughly enjoy the nice ones. All right. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, single stack, no run back in the Millie. Single stack, no run back. And this was in a lot of winning lineups. And how about this? So Ben mentioned this week he could see himself going actually a lot of 3 running back lineups. The Millie winner and the red zone winner, the $50, 100K up top or 50K, whatever it was up top. Breece Hall, David Montgomery, Devon Achane, Adam Thielen, Jordan Addison, and Dallas Goedert with Jets defense. Single stack, 3 running back lineup, Neil, no run back. Yeah,
this is, I mean, just like this is a very much a play the best plays lineup. Yeah, this is a really solid lineup. Twitter all week, people have been debating the Devon Achane thing. Like, was he a good play? Was he not a good play? At 31% ownership, now he's going on IR, so we don't need to talk about that anymore. Whether Devon Achane is a good play, we don't need to talk about whether he's a good play this week. Yeah, but just looking through the lineup, there's a ton of ownership. It's Laffy. I mean, come on. He came out and told us what his name is. I'm just gonna trust him when he tells us how to pronounce his name. I'm gonna trust Devon Achane.
The man was confused for some time before that. So how are we to trust?
Do you think that he ever told anybody my name is Devon Achane? Like, do you think he's going back and forth?
I mean, I would want people to know my name. Yeah, I would want you to know my name. Anyway, I digress.
Sure. We
digress. Go back to this. You're not going to sell me on this, Neil. Go back to this lineup. The Devon Achane chain is another spot where you're right, like a weird spot. But the funny thing is, again, it's not like Raheem Mostert didn't get any opportunity. And wasn't Achane the one that fumbled last week?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Mostert might have too. I don't remember, but they both have had tons of fumbling problems. Right. Yeah.
He didn't lose it, but he fumbled.
No, I mean, this looks really good. So you have the single stack. We do have some secondary correlation there with David Montgomery and Adam Thielen from the same game. We've also got the Jets defense with Breece Hall. Sometimes, some positive correlation there with the running back and the same team's defense. There's a lot to like about this lineup. Like, it really does have a lot of, nice correlations here. Nothing too crazy, like didn't go completely off the board. Pretty interesting to see that it's so chalky and didn't even like use any 1% on players. Like the lowest ownership in this lineup is Jordan Addison at 4.3%, but you don't really need to. Dallas Goedert, loved that play. That was a play that I think we were on all week last week. Dallas Goedert being like, this is going to be his blowout spot. So really fun to see that. Looks like a really nice lineup.
He didn't really do anything weird, and there's no bad plays in here either. The only argument you could make is, hey, it's kind of a chalky lineup, but outside of that, how can you nitpick a lineup like this?
Right.
Oh, I could nitpick one thing, as a matter of fact. I'll nitpick one thing for you, Neil. Ready for this?
Let's hear it.
Let's see if you can find it.
Okay, wait. I'm going back to the lineup. Nitpicking one thing in this lineup. Is it that Adam Thielen is dusty and for some reason they keep feeding him the ball? I'm guessing that's not it.
As a Vikings fan, you being a Vikings fan, I can understand why you say that. He looks good. No, it's that Breece Hall could have been in the flex spot with Devon Achane in the running back spot. Have that late window just in case. Is it a huge deal? No, probably not. But yeah, I mean, he played one lineup, so clearly a hand building spot here, and he played the 1 p.m. guy in the flex. But that's it.
Yeah, I love, again, but like this is, I think it was last week we also had a solo lineup win the Millie, and we had it again this week. I'm not sure if that's correct, but this week I can see he just played one lineup and won the Millie. That is so insane when people do that. Just playing one lineup and beating hundreds of thousands is super impressive.
It is insane. And you have to be insanely lucky, obviously. But
obviously, yeah.
I would like to be that lucky one day. I'll tell you that much.
The username is Buckeye. I don't know where anybody went to college. Are there any Buckeyes in this lineup?
Oh, I don't know.
You have any idea?
That's a Matt Gajewski question there.
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
Watch, they all were. I know that obviously they weren't, but that'd be hilarious.
Yeah, that would be funny.
All right. Let's take a look at actually, I do know where a bunch of these guys went.
Do you?
Let's take a look at the running back position. For those of you guys new to this show right here that we do on Wednesday, the reason we don't have a quarterback up there is because yesterday on the First Look show, Ben Rasa and myself, we go position by position, take that first look at everything. Today, now that we have ownership up, top stack, the boom bust tool, everything, all of our tools on Stochastic that we're going to help guide us, we're going to use that to go running back, wide receiver, tight ends, and then top stacks where we're looking at the best stacks. That's going to factor quarterbacks in heavy. Same with the wide receiver position when we talk about it. So let's make it happen, Neil. At running back, you have a really, really, really deep running back position this week. Now, the first thing that I would point out is the huge price drop from Christian McCaffrey to everybody else, especially with Devon Achane out. So now it's going to be all of these 6K guys, a handful of 5K guys. Look at the pricing here. And I asked Ben earlier in the week, I was like, where do you think Christian McCaffrey's ownership is going to come in? We both agreed. If Christian McCaffrey were very low owned here, it would be a spot that I think anyone in their right mind would go, wow, look at the leverage I'm getting on the best running back at the league at like 5%. But we've got him coming in almost 12% at 9,500 against Cleveland in a game with a 38-point total.
I mean, he's been such a workhorse that like it makes sense. People are going to want to play Christian McCaffrey. And it also makes sense to me that we have him as pretty massive negative leverage, 12% ownership, just over 4% chance of being optimal. He's one of those guys like I guess I did play him, but a couple weeks back where he scored 4 touchdowns or whatever, he ruined he ruined my day basically because he wasn't in any of my good lineups. He always has that ability to just completely ruin a slate. So like, I think you should always probably play some Christian McCaffrey, like, or I mean, you shouldn't always, but you're risking him just completely going off in any matchup, even in a tough spot here. Like this is a really awful spot for Christian McCaffrey, but when you're getting used to it, he gets both in the run game and the pass game, like the floor with the PPR points. It makes sense that he's going to get like 12% ownership is nothing crazy for Christian McCaffrey. I would imagine I'm going to be underweight to the field on McCaffrey unless like a ton of value opens up, at which point, like, all right, we're just paying up everywhere. But I don't think that's going to happen. My guess would be, yeah, this is too much ownership for Christian McCaffrey, according to the tools. That makes sense to me. Like he is, as you said, he's way more expensive than any other running back on the slate. Oh yeah, that was the point I was going to make. So like 2 weeks ago, I said he was 2,000 more expensive than anybody else. I was like, he really has to go off to make you regret not playing him.
Went
and then, of course, he did
insane.
in that game. He went absolutely insane in that game. That's always a risk with Christian McCaffrey. Like, he is just that good. But it's a tough spot for him. So to me, he's going to be largely a fade. Like, I'm probably going to play some lineups with Christian McCaffrey, but I'm certainly going to be underweight to the field if the field is at 12%.
Rance, I don't know if you're talking about Christian McCaffrey needing more than 20. He's going to need more than 30.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
He's going to, you need a huge game at that price point. And you know what? It's not, yeah, Marco said he needs 40 or 50. You might not need 50, but you're going to need, and here's the reason. Unless all of these other guys just stink, then look, there's some good running back options this week. I mentioned Swift yesterday. I think this could be a spot where where the game goes under and the Eagles end up just controlling everything on the ground. We've seen them do it before. The Jets, allowing the 4th most rushing yards per game, 8th most yards per attempt. Their secondary is as elite as it gets, potentially, probably, one of, if not the best in the league. Eagles don't need to throw the football. You could see them just part the Red Sea for DeAndre Swift in a game like this. He's 6,100. He's getting 13%. Travis Etienne, 7,100, coming off a 26 carry game. He's got a match up against the Colts without Anthony Richardson. Should be a good spot where he gets a ton of work again. Kyron Williams against Arizona, 7-point favorites, 17%, 6,500. Mixon. Josh Jacobs against the New England team that's been outscored 72-3 over their last 2 games. And then, of course, Raheem Mostert against the Carolina Panthers without Devon Achane. We'll see if Jeff Wilson's back. We'll see how much Salvon Ahmed gets worked in. But I got to tell you, I just listed off like 5 or 6 guys, and I still haven't talked about Alvin Kamara at 9% against Houston and a bunch of other guys like Kenneth Walker, etc.
Yeah, this is kind of an insanely deep slate. As you said
Super
earlier, like
deep
just
at
looking
running
through
back.
some of these are like, man, I really want to play him, but like you have to make some choices. Mostert does stand out to me as like just like the most obvious play on the slate at 6,400 in this matchup. We just saw David Montgomery go completely off against this Carolina defense. Now you get Mostert in this high-powered offense. He's 6,400, as you said. No Achane. Sure, Jeff Wilson might return this week. I won't even say probably. I have no idea like what to expect from Jeff Wilson, but I wouldn't expect him to take on that much work in his first week back regardless. So I would imagine Mostert is going to be just the workhorse here. If you just give him the workload that he's had in past weeks, he would be a great play here at 6,400. Now it might be even a bigger role, and he's in the best spot imaginable against this Carolina run defense. So yeah, hard not to love Mostert here. And we actually don't have him at like prohibitive ownership, 23% projected ownership for Mostert. That seems low. My guess would be that actually comes up by Sunday. But as you said, like maybe not, because we do have so many running backs in great spots here. There's no real guarantee that it does shoot up. Swift is interesting. Like, do you think this is real? So we currently, the Jets defense 16th in terms of pass DVOA, 15th in terms of rush DVOA. So they're just like a totally average defense. I think of them as being one of the best defenses in the league, and I keep assuming that this is going to regress. They're going to end up being one of the best defenses in the league. Do you think at this point, like maybe we have enough sample size that maybe they're just not as good as we anticipated coming in?
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I still think this pass defense is good. Like,
Yeah.
I still think they're very good. They allowed under 200 yards to Patrick Mahomes in week 4.
Right.
169 yards to Denver. Sometimes I'm just going to take this at face value, man. You know what I mean? Like sometimes 217 yards to Josh Allen and the Bills. They face some good passing offenses.
Yeah.
And they've really shut them down. They don't contain the run as well. But I think as the season goes on, you're gonna look at this team and go, the secondary is still really good, and the run defense is where they can get beat up pretty bad. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I think that is a reasonable way to look at it. Man, I think that we are going to have some interesting spots in this Cardinals-Rams game with the rookie coming in being the presumed starting running back. I think he is 5,900 this week, so a little bit too cheap there. Just one more name in there. Kyron Williams is going to look good against the Cardinals. There's so many good running backs in good spots here that I think we're going to have to just play the ownership game, because it's going to come down to like, yeah, there are a lot of running backs who look like great point per dollar plays. We're just going to have to see who ends up looking like they're getting a ton of ownership on Sunday and play the guys who aren't.
Also, this season, the Jets have allowed the second most receiving yards to opposing running backs. They've allowed the most targets. They've allowed the second most receptions. To me, when you're talking about a guy like Swift, and yeah, I've been kind of hot and cold on Swift depending on the matchup, especially if you can exploit teams through the air. Swift has 10 targets over the last 2 games. When he's involved in the passing game. So you're talking, okay, last game, did he have a huge effort? No, he didn't score. And I know that Jalen Hurts is involved on the goal line. I think this gets changed up again. Their red zone defense has been the biggest. It has been their Achilles heel. Now I say that knowing that they're 5-0. Okay, but they could have scored 35 last week, right? There are games that they've left points on the field. The Achilles heel for the Eagles has been the red zone, and I don't even think the play calling in between the 20s has been bad. Matter of fact, I think it's been awesome. The play calling inside the red zone has been bad. I think they make adjustments going into this week. Wouldn't be surprised to see Swift get more of those opportunities. Even as a pass catcher, I think it's possible. 23 looks, 23 touches last game, 18 looks, 18 touches the game before that, 18 the game before that, 34 the game before that without Kenny Gainwell. But still, the volume is there enough for me in a game where I think they try and lean on the run, but also feature him in the passing game on short passes. That Swift at 6,100 to me is still a very good play.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Looks like a great player. Just getting that kind of volume behind that Eagles offensive line. He's going to be an interesting play throughout the year, and the price is right here for Swift. So I like that call. Okay, so DeMercado, I'm seeing now we have at 9% projected ownership, 10% chance being optimal. He's 4,900. I'm assuming that he takes on a pretty big workload for the Cardinals against the Rams. I think that seems like reasonable ownership, like 9% ownership at 4,900. In a decent matchup with the Rams, looks pretty good. And then we have Kyron Williams at just 17% ownership. I guess 17% chance being optimal, so it feels about right. But now they got Cooper Kupp back. It'll be interesting to see who gets cut out of this offense now with Cooper Kupp back. Probably just Tutu Atwell. Probably these other guys. Kyron Williams continues to be a workhorse. Puka seems to still be the real deal, getting a ton of volume there for the Rams. But I think at 17% ownership, I'll take my shots on Kyron Williams. Like we've just seen offenses destroyed this Cardinals defense all year. So I like that as well. Man, there's a lot of good plays here this week.
A lot of good plays. Jamal said if Eli Mitchell's out again, go to Jordan Mason between McCaffrey. Nah, not in a 38-point total game with a 5.5-point spread. And I think, I don't know if this is a hedge line or not. I mean, you can't really bet it right now because I have no idea if Deshaun Watson's going to play, but I wouldn't be looking at this as like a blowout. If Deshaun Watson's on the field, I'm not playing a backup for San Francisco.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Marco says, do we think Mercado will start? I would prefer Ingram. So Ingram has been dealing with a neck injury. It's unclear yet if Ingram is going to be back for this game. Keontae Ingram for the Cardinals. So at this point it would be Mercado. I also don't think Keontae Ingram is very good. So no strong lean there, but I think that there's a good chance that Keontae Ingram actually does not play in this game. So that would be the reason to play Mercado. If they're splitting carries, it's obviously not going to be as good of a spot. And then the Bears, what do we have for the Bears? We have virtually zero ownership. That's going to change because we're going to have Khalil Herbert out. We're going to have, we just, at this point, I think we just don't know who's going to be starting for the Bears between, like, is Deontay Foreman going to come back? I would assume. Yeah. But once we have a better idea there, who is getting ownership, who's playing there, one of Deontay Foreman or Roschon Johnson is going to be interesting. Maybe even both against this Vikings defense. But
no, you do make a good point. If Ingram does play, then we'll like it's Wednesday, so you might be watching this show at another time, and we'll see. But if he does end up playing, yeah, I would be a lot less apt to play DeMercado. We don't have to think that Ingram's good, but he was still the guy that when they were early in the season before he got hurt, he was still getting more opportunities than DeMercado. The first 3 weeks of the season, Ingram had 12 carries, and remember, none of those games were just big blowouts. DeMercado in those same games had 3 combined touches, 3 combined carries. Last week he was fine against Cincinnati. after after Connor went down. But I wouldn't, if Ingram plays, I wouldn't just bank on this being DeMarco's offense at all or backfield.
Yeah, that's a very fair point. Yeah, so I mean, we'll get more news throughout the week. At this point, I'm sort of assuming that Ingram is not going to play, but we'll know by Sunday. So something that we can kind of save the discussion for the Sunday shows once we have more info.
And if we're talking sub 10% owned guys right now, I'll give you a couple that I think are viable. And by the way, we have Jeff Wilson projected in right now. If he's out, Raheem Mostert's ownership is going to soar, probably north of 40%, honestly, at that price point.
You think he makes that? Like, I don't know how much of an actual, like you're probably right that it's going to impact ownership, but like they have Salvon Ahmed there, like Salmon Head, as some people call him. They have Salmon Head there. So they do have a backup running back they could use regardless.
I mean, Jeff Wilson was the guy, best ball wise, that was being drafted neck and neck with Raheem Mostert. I think if he plays, it's going to shake a few people off. If he's okay, look, if he's out, you don't think Raheem Mostert's going to be well above 23%? I mean, A-Chain was 31% last week.
Yeah, I think Raheem Mostert's ownership is going to go up regardless. But yeah, you're right. It would impact things because at the very least, Jeff Wilson is like a name, a guy that people trust. So like he will impact ownership. I guess I'm saying I'm not sure that it actually impacts Raheem Mostert's role because I don't think Jeff Wilson's going to have a huge role regardless. But you're right. That it will probably impact ownership.
Right. Yeah, that could be true for sure. I don't know. I really don't know. A couple before we go to wide receiver, a couple sub 10% guys that I'm looking at. And by the way, I think Madison's fine, 11%, but Kamara at 9% right now, 6,800, coming off another massive opportunity. Last week, you saw 22 carries or whatever. He wasn't great, but now you've got Houston. Derek Carr still isn't throwing the ball particularly well. You have to assume he's not at 100%. And then Kenneth Walker, we have right now at 6% against Cincinnati. I could see that game being a shootout. It's only a 45.5 point total. I know there's some concern of inclement weather, but last time I looked, it's like supposed to be 56 degrees with potential rain showers and winds between 10 and 15 miles per hour. Like nothing there concerns me on any side of the ball. Kenneth Walker at 6% seems pretty low to me.
Yeah, he's been a workhorse there. That does seem pretty low. I guess we've got him at 6% chance of being optimal too. So like looks like a pretty average play, like a neutral play, ownership versus our odds of being optimal. So, but to me, does look like this is a Bengals team that has been a bit of a run funnel so far this year, 30th in terms of run DVOA versus 12th in terms of pass DVOA. I like Kenneth Walker quite a bit. It's been fun to see him maintain, that kind of lead horse role with Charbonnet coming in there. So yeah, I think he's certainly very, very viable here against the Bengals.
You have any other guys that aren't getting ownership right now that stand out as viable options?
Man, we have Zach Moss looking good in the tools. I think that's going to change by Sunday. I'm hoping that Jonathan Taylor plays a bigger role here and we can end the whole Zach Moss thing because I don't have enough of him. Man, David Montgomery. Do I want to be playing David Montgomery against the Bucks? Maybe. I think David Montgomery is going to be a fine play once again.
What if Gibbs is in?
I think even with Gibbs, like that'll just lower Montgomery's ownership. And like he's been good in games with Gibbs as well. So he's up to 7,300. Like it's not a smash spot for me, but like we have him at 4% ownership, 6% chance of being optimal right now. So looks pretty good in the tools. We at least have some positive leverage there for Montgomery. He's one that I would consider. I'll probably play some of these Bears guys just because of the matchup. Where do we have Andre? Sorry, we have Alexander Madison at 12% ownership, so we do have him getting a reasonable. I was thinking like with Justin Jefferson out, maybe against this Bears defense in particular, like I would have some interest in Alexander Madison, but the field is there. He makes sense, 5,600, but the field sees it too. Nobody's really standing out to me at like really low ownership as somebody that is a slam dunk for me. Like there's a part of me that actually wants to consider if Jeff Wilson is out, are we considering Salvon Ahmed here at 0.1% ownership? I think I would. Like he would be one of my off the wall, like, RB2 guys that like usually don't really want to play the backup running back, but he might have a role and he's in a great spot. So I think if Jeff Wilson is out, I would consider Ahmed as a just completely off the wall, like milli maker only kind of play.
I don't hate it.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything else.
Yeah,
that
clearly
really
large field style.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, they're what? What are they, like 14-point favorites or something absurd?
Right,
They're huge
exactly. Like
favorites.
not using Raheem Mostert in the fourth quarter if they're crushing. So would make some sense to me.
Yeah. Another home game, right? I think, yeah. They're 13.5-point favorites.
Yeah.
30 plus point implied total again. Carolina is a lifeless football team right now. All right, let's talk about wide receivers. Before we do, though, guys, you already know. If you want a free week of all of our tools, every single tool that we've got over here at stochastic.com, the lineup simulator, which was awesome because on Monday, Neil and I threw up the top simulated ROI lineups for Owner's Box because we had a question in chat about it. Dude was in the parking lot after a softball game. I mentioned this yesterday. After a softball game, he's like, oh shit, let me get that in there. There's overlay, throws it in, just the top simulated ROI, the top projected, the best lineup that we had for Owner's Box after running the sim. And he had like he chopped it for $1,700, $1,750 on one lineup, just from throwing that in on the Sims tool. It was awesome, man. But yeah, all of our tools, the contest generator, lineup simulator, post contest simulator, which I love, ownership, player projections, top stack tool, boom bust tool. We use all of them on the show every single day. Lineup generator, premium Discord, you name it. Every tool that we've got, there's no more add-ons. It's not like you get a subscription and then you got to get an add-on after that. Everything for the entire week for NFL, the entirety of the week, 100% free when you sign up at Owner's Box. Deposit a minimum of $10. The link's in the description and it's in chat. They have a $500 first match deposit bonus. So if you have the means to do so, obviously you want to take advantage of that. But the overlay that we've seen there has been significant week over week for almost every single slate. You've got NBA coming up as well. They have Superflex NFL contest, which means you don't have to get burned by playing the Titans defense with a great lineup around it. Yes, I'm still pissed off about that. Or not playing a Bills defense or a Saints defense. No, you don't have to worry about that massive luck factor coming into play. Superflex, you can superflex. You can flex in a quarterback in the Superflex spot. Really cool format. There's been a lot of overlay, a lot of dead money at the top of these contests, and you're getting all of our tools. So you do it today on a Wednesday. Maybe you're watching on Thursday. You're getting Thursday night football. You're getting Sunday morning Europe game, wherever the hell that is, maybe Germany. Main slate, afternoon slate, Sunday night football, Monday night football, and then you still have the tools updated for the following Thursday. Get in if you haven't done so yet. Link in the description and in chat. Minimum $10 deposit on Owner's Box. Win some money there. Use our tools because we've got them all, not just for DraftKings and FanDuel, but also for Owner's Box. And let us know what happens. I think you're going to love these tools, and I think you'll like playing at Owner's Box. All right, wide receivers. Whoo. Dude, we talked about how deep the position is at running back. It's super deep at wide receiver, too. I'd say the least deep position is probably quarterback this week.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at off the top, like just looking at our top owned plays, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. This makes sense. Like all of our top owned plays, I'm like, these guys should be high owned. Like, of course, I'll go straight to my Vikings guys. We got Jordan Addison coming in. Currently, it's just 14% ownership. That seems low to me for a 5,700 Jordan Addison as the wide receiver one with Jefferson out against this Bears defense. Like 14% ownership. I'm in on that. I'll probably play some KJ Osborne, who's just going to step in seamlessly to that Justin Jefferson role. I'm sure he's going to be just crushing it all week, all season now.
You're not a homer.
Not at all. No, yeah, he's just a 1-for-1 fill in there. 9% ownership going to KJ Osborne at 4,400. But seriously, he should have a significant role here. Like they are saying, like he's going to like sort of play the Justin Jefferson role at this point. 9% ownership seems fine for 4,400 KJ Osborne again in this matchup. So it's like maybe you don't need Justin Jefferson against the Bears. So yeah, I'll take my shots on both of those two, Addison and Osborne. For my Vikings, I think they're going to look pretty good in this spot. Jamar Chase, I feel like that one is a spot that I should have trusted the reports a little bit more because we didn't have like Chase was pretty chalky. Burrow actually didn't end up being all that chalky. That's one of my bigger regrets on the season so far is that all the reports were like Joe Burrow looks healthy. They're in a spot against the Arizona Cardinals, who were just like everybody's been smashing them all year. And I didn't fully buy into the Burrow Chase stack. I had some Chase thanks to the Sims tool giving me a lot of Chase. I don't know that I would have forced him in there. Like if I was hand building lineups, I'm not sure I would have gotten a ton.
Even without Higgins?
Well, even without Higgins, just because the offense had looked so bad, like I probably would have had some Chase regardless, but there were a lot of other wide receivers on the top that I really liked last week. So I think that I like he was not my favorite of the high end receivers
Right.
naturally because he was also getting a lot of ownership. And Burrow just had looked broken all year up until last week. But all the reports were Burrow's looking healthier, and then of course you had kind of like the perfect situation of Burrow's getting healthy, facing the Cardinals. Suddenly Burrow was like 6,200 last week. I wish that I bought in on that more because that absolutely smashed last week. Now we have, Chase is 8,300, and Burrow seems to be like largely back. This is their last game before their bye week. I don't know if that really matters, but Seahawks 25th in terms of pass DVOA, second in rush DVOA, so a little bit of a pass funnel defense as well. Sets up really nicely for Jamar Chase. I'm definitely going to be on there a bit. We're not expecting Higgins back. Is that correct? Am I
I
remembering
think he
right?
plays.
You do think he plays? Okay.
Well, I think he has a good shot of playing.
Okay.
His, if you're talking about self-reporting here, he was saying that like it's a pain tolerance thing, and that he might miss. We're talking after week 4. He's like, I might miss week 5. We'll see, but I don't think I'll be out long. Now, when these players self-report this type of, when I say
Right.
self-report, I shouldn't say. I mean, when he was, diagnosing or giving you a timeline, we should say, he made it. He downplayed it. But we've seen players do that a lot in the past. I did not expect him. I had him out all week last week. This week, I think it's probably like 60-40 to play, only because he was limiting. He allowed 1 or 2 limited practices as well. So it's not like he didn't practice at all. If I had to guess, I think he plays. But if it's a pain tolerance thing, we'll find out.
Okay. Yeah, I hadn't rechecked that report earlier this week. But yeah, currently we have Higgins at 2% ownership. I would imagine that comes up once we get reports. Like if it's like he's full go coming into the week, I would guess the ownership gets a little bit higher than 2%. But currently we have really nice leverage on Higgins, 2% ownership, 7% chance of being optimal. Obviously things can flip in a hurry once we have more news, but that is kind of interesting. People talking about the Rams here, and I'm like, and I agree, like Cooper Kupp going to be a smash at currently we have him at just 10% ownership. That looks really nice for me on Cooper Kupp. Like he just stepped right back into the Cooper Kupp role, but also Puka. Like Puka's not going away. We've got him at 12% ownership, 14% chance of being optimal. I'm going to like both of those guys for the Rams. Both look good. What do you think happens with the Cardinals now with no James Conner? I think they pass more. Like I think that it's actually like we talked about DeMarcado getting a boost, but also like I think the pass catchers might just get a boost. And like Rondell Moore is 3,500. That sort of interests me. Rondell Moore 3,500. He actually has played some running back for them. Like part of me wonders if he takes on a bigger role in the running back role. Like just gets more carries without having James Conner there as well.
Entirely possible. They might try and get the ball out early too against Aaron Donald,
which would also benefit Rondell Moore.
Right.
Yeah.
Eagles just completely shut down Aaron Donald in that pass rush last game, but the Arizona offensive line is not the Eagles. Like it's not.
Right. Well, nobody is.
Right. But I'm saying this isn't even in the same same universe.
Sure.
Right.
True.
So yeah, you know what? Rondell Moore is not the craziest option. Marcus Brown has a 26% target share this season.
Yeah.
I think you can keep going back to Marcus Brown. Obviously, he's getting ownership.
And he's still just 5,300 too.
I know that. I think his price came down, or it's maybe he was like 51 last game.
It was right around there, yeah.
To your point, yeah, he's not really going up in price. He was 5,000, but still 5,300. He didn't have the best game last week, but he wasn't bad. He had 4 for 61 and a touchdown, but he was targeted 10 times. His targets over the last 4 games are 10, 7, 10, and 10. He's got double-digit targets in 3 of his last 4. That Dobbs really likes going to this guy and downfield as well.
Yeah, I mean it's a great spot. I think all of these. It's funny talking about these Cardinals receivers as players that were interested, but like even Michael Wilson, we have at 3% projected ownership, 5% chance of being optimal. He actually is the only one with positive leverage in the tools, and he's the one that I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll play a little bit. But Marquise Brown looks great, and yeah, Rondell Moore. I think I'm gonna buy into the just like they're gonna have to just like throw it short and maybe use him as a running back as well. Like I could see Rondell Moore getting real additional usage here, and he's only 3,500 in a nice spot. So yeah, it's sort of a weird spot to have a lot of interest in, but I think I actually have interest in all 3 of these Cardinals wide receivers.
I think could be if his ownership really isn't that high and it's a lot cheaper than Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams this week could be a spectacular play. There's just so many injuries to this Patriots team, and they've just been so terrible. I know last week the Saints didn't win on the on the back or on the arm of Derek Carr. I understand that for sure, but I also think Devontae Adams is still dealing with a shoulder. We talked about this on Monday. Like I think Devontae Adams was 100%. I might even go as far to say that maybe they hold him out if he's not going up against his former team and the Green Bay Packers and Jair Alexander. I don't know. It's just spec. He was only targeted 4 times. He caught all 4 of them. He had, 60 some yards or whatever it was. But clearly from the onset of that game, Jacoby Myers was the guy, right? Yeah. Like Jacoby Myers was the primary target in that game. You could make the argument again that like Jair Alexander spent a good amount of time on Devontae Adams and that was why. So like I said, it's just pure speculation. I have no idea, Neil. All I'm saying is that a week later, or almost a week later, you would think that Devontae Adams is back to being in good shape. He did play 94% of snaps last week. Myers played 95. That's the amazing part. And that's why I think this team every single week in the passing game, you want to throw Myers in there too. If you want to be the guy that's like Bill Belichick is real good at shutting down number 1 receivers, well, then I think Myers is fine. These guys played 94 and 95% of snaps respectively last week. Other receivers, Renfro 30%, DeAndre Carter 28%, Trey Tucker 11%. Forget about the tight ends. Michael Mayer early in that game, whatever, fine. But this is a 3-man show in Las Vegas. It's Jacobs, it's Adams, and Myers. And regardless of matchup, I don't think we can overstate how important that is to have such a heavily concentrated opportunity share on this offense.
Yeah, and I mean Devontae Adams 8,100. Kind of liked that he didn't have a good game last time, and we talked about the possibility that he would be a decoy in that game. I still like after watching it, he looked fine to me. So I don't know if that was the case. Like he obviously was out there as you said for almost every play. But you're right. Like and he's also like one of the few receivers in the league that I'm like he has the skill, he has the talent to. If he wants to be a squeaky wheel, he can be a squeaky wheel. I think he has been a little bit like he's talked about like I'm not here to sit around to wait around for a rebuild. He's pretty vocal when he is upset about things. Now, of course, they got the win, so he's not going to come out and complain, publicly about not getting enough looks last week. But wouldn't it shock me if he is privately, kind of saying, "Hey, I need to see the ball more than 4 times in a game." Which, of course, I'm just giving you narrative reasons, but the real reason to play him, we have him at 13% projected ownership, 15% chance to be an optimal. He's just 8,100 and one of the highest used wide receivers in the league. Yeah, it's like the Patriots, not a defense that I typically am like trying to target, but I think it does make sense here for Devontae Adams in particular. The Patriots 17th against the pass. The Raiders do have a 22.5 implied team total. Very much in play. And yeah, Jacoby Myers, I'm less inclined to go to him after a blow up spot, but we still have him at just 7% ownership at 5,800 as one of the receivers with the highest target share in the entire NFL. So both in play.
A couple of people in chat said Jacoby Myers revenge game, but I'm not sure if they mean revenge because he played on the Patriots before, or do you remember? And that's obviously what they're talking about because this is his first year with the Raiders. Do you remember what happened last year when the Patriots played the Raiders? Do you remember this game?
No.
I will refresh your memory and it will all come rushing back to you. Last play of the game, tied, I think 24-24. Mac Jones to Ramondre Stevenson. Stevenson laterals it to Jacoby Myers, who freaks out.
Oh, God,
and
yes.
Throws the ball to Chandler Jones, who wins as time runs out. That was this matchup last year. On
a showdown slate, by the way.
Other side. What's that?
On a showdown slate, by the way, where I think people were winning like $300,000 and then lost it all on that last second
play.
A
showdown? You're right. It was a night game. You're right.
Yeah. Yep.
Insane ending. And Jacoby Myers made like the most boneheaded play ever.
Yeah.
But I defended him after that. I defended him because that play never should have happened. I blamed that on Ramondre Stevenson. Go back and watch that.
I remember agreeing with you. I don't remember exactly. Like it was like he was in such a weird spot because why did he get the ball or something? I don't remember exactly what it was, but I agreed with your take.
I think what happened is that Ramondre Stevenson's move to lateral the ball short-circuited Jacoby Myers' brain.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I blame it on Stevenson.
Yeah.
But yeah, you remember that. How crazy was that, man?
Yeah. Absolutely insane. I forgot about that.
Sammy Telesco, member for 14. This is our boy Buffalo Warpigs. Member for 14 months, sending that free super chat our way. Just want to send some positive energy to all. Thanks, man. Appreciate you. We always have positive energy on these strategy shows.
That's true. Sammy's got nothing but positive energy.
Things get squirrely on Deeper Dive and Live Before Lock. That's when people just start going off the rails. But
true.
This is a good positive energy show. No thanks to you, Neil.
I mean, I do it at best. Sometimes I have doubts about the audience, but not in the morning. In the morning, I trust this audience.
Yeah. Sammy said, speaking of Stevenson, what's up with him? You just can't play him right now. I mean, it's been that way since like week 3, really. The offense is completely not dysfunctional, but it doesn't function at all. It's broken.
Also split carries last week, 50% snap share last week, 50% for Ramondre Stevenson, 46% for Ezekiel Elliott. I got to be honest, I did not see this coming. The Zeke really eating this much into his workload.
Thought he'd just be the goal line back. I did think he'd steal a lot of goal line carries. I stayed away from Stevenson for the most part all summer, but I didn't see this coming like this either.
I had a ton of Stevenson all summer, and obviously one of my bigger best ball regrets.
Well, I'm sure I could give you plenty of mistakes I've made as well. Just this one specifically so far looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Do you like any? I talked about Adams because he's not mega chalk right now. Before we talk tight ends and then wrap this up with top stacks, do you have any low owned guys that stand out as I can give you one. I think Mike Evans against Detroit is super interesting at 8%. I don't think a lot of people get there at 7,100, but he's been his rapport and his chemistry with Baker Mayfield this year is real. It's real. Jacoby Myers at 5,800 stands out to me as a very solid option there. There's a few guys down here that actually don't look. Terry McLaurin's $5,500. You might just get a big McLaurin game soon when everyone is just tired of him.
A lot of people in chat talking about DJ Moore. He's speaking of my best ball mistakes. One of my bigger stands was I didn't want to draft DJ Moore ever without Justin Fields, which I think is actually true so far. But I wish they had more of that combo, DJ Moore and Justin Fields. We've got more at sub 3% ownership.
That's wrong.
Currently.
That might just be a bug that we have right now.
Okay, you think that is? I mean, he is 6,500, but yeah, it does seem low. Sub 3% after the big blow up game last week. Now facing that Vikings defense. Maybe you can go to Darnell Mooney. I could pretty much
guarantee you that he doesn't come in below 10%.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll have to have that conversation.
Well, what do you think? What do you think? He's coming off a 230-yard, 3-touchdown game or whatever, and now he's got a matchup against the Vikings.
I think that you are correct that it's going to come in higher. I think a lot of ownership projection comes down to how he's being projected around the industry. Like that factors in a lot in terms of ownership projections, and like his efficiency right now is like off the charts. Like he cannot possibly be as efficient as he has been so far. So he probably doesn't project as well as like we think that he should, and that will affect ownership if he just doesn't project that well. But I think that you are correct. Like he will come in at over 10% because just like every hand builder is going to be like DJ Moore, 6,500 Vikings defense. I'm doing it. So I agree with you. It's going to come up from where we have it now. Alec Pierce looks kind of interesting to me. He's a guy that I haven't played this year at all. I don't really believe in the talent, but he's 3,300. Baker Mayfield, maybe throws the ball a little bit more than Anthony Richardson would have, and we've got him at sub 2% ownership. Yeah, sorry, Gardner Minshew.
You're good. Just before anyone decides to correct you and be like, Baker Mayfield's not on the Colts.
Right. Yeah, I prefer having you correct me right away is better than having.
Well, I knew what you meant. A lot of people will just assume the worst and be like, this guy doesn't know who's on.
No idea what he's talking about. Yeah, you're right. Gardner Minshew probably going to be throwing it more than Anthony Richardson would have been. So, and part of the reason people wanted to play Alec Pierce previously was the Anthony Richardson big arm, which, Gardner Minshew, not quite the same extent, but still 3,300, just getting potentially more volume at sub 2% ownership. I guess Alec Pierce, a little bit interesting to me, not like a huge stand that I'm taking, but somebody that is somewhat interesting to me. Jalen Waddle, he was one of my favorite plays last week. It looked so good early on, and he ended up having I believe of all wide receivers last week, he had the second most expected fantasy points because they targeted him 4 times in the red zone, only caught 1 touchdown, didn't really do anything else. So he was disappointing once again last week, but it did seem like they were trying to get him involved. Now up to 6% ownership. I think it was 4 last week, but we still have some positive leverage on Jalen Waddle as a pretty low owned play. I think that is interesting. Yeah, I think we've named all of the plays that are standing out to me as interesting plays.
Uh, two questions I want to ask you. One, and we can keep this quick, move on to tight ends. Are you on board with 12% Josh Downs?
12%.
I have a ton of him in best ball too. So I would love for him to end up being good. I have a ton of him, and Tank Dell is like my last overall pick on DraftKings. So I would love it, but he's coming in at 12+%.
It's a little bit steep for me. We do have him optimal 11% of the time. So it actually doesn't show up as like a crazy over-owned play. Yeah, I don't love it at 12%, but I think it is reasonable. Yeah, I'll have to think about that a little bit more. I want to look at his splits. I feel like I remember seeing that he has pretty different splits, but I forget what the actual splits were with Anthony Richardson versus Gardner Minshew in at quarterback. So we'll talk about that more. I'll talk about that more later on in the week, but interesting regardless. Yeah, at 4,100, pretty involved there.
Last one here. You know this saying, a squeaky wheel gets the grease, right?
Yep.
In Philly, that's kind of been the case. Like over the past couple of years, not even squeaky wheel, but it's Nick Sirianni wanting to keep these guys involved. Obviously with AJ Brown, maybe squeaky wheel, but last season, week 1, you saw absolutely nothing. You saw nothing at all from Devontae Smith. And then the next 2 weeks, he just goes nuts. Nick Sirianni came out to him on the sidelines. He could tell he was kind of down, not really involved. It was all Brown and Goddard and Swift last game. He put his arm around them mid-game,
Yep.
I'm wondering, like, if this happens to be the game, but I'm cautious. I'm erring on the side of caution here. I really do think the Eagles look to move the ball on the ground. Smith is sub 1%, so it's interesting in large field. I don't know if he's cheap enough yet for me to go, hey, this could be that spot that I want to get there.
I really like that call out. Like Devontae, I mean, he is, as you said, he's 7,000, so like not a slam dunk play, but yeah, he had 0 catches last week, if I'm remembering correctly. As you said, he's sub 1% projected ownership. We have him at 3% chance of being optimal. That is huge. Like having him sub 1% with a 3% chance of being optimal doesn't sound like a lot, but that is the lower the ownership, the more important that like triple odds of being optimal versus ownership is actually huge for Devontae Smith. I like the squeaky wheel narrative, as you say, like maybe it's not squeaky wheel, maybe he's not complaining over there, but at the very least, as you said, Nick Sirianni has like repeatedly, he's come out and said like, we need to get this guy more involved. We need to get this guy, like he's clearly aware of who's not getting enough usage. Plus we've got, maybe Sauce Gardner is, focusing a little bit more on AJ Brown. Just an added narrative piece there. I like it. I like the call for Devontae Smith at 7,000. That's a really, really interesting play.
Beautiful. All right. We won't take long at tight ends. We never do. It's not a position that needs a ton of discussion. Before we do though, guys, feel free to tune out for a minute. But if you are in these 6 states, you're going to want to listen. Okay. You already know. Colorado, Virginia, Ohio, New Jersey, Iowa, and most importantly, Kentucky. You want to make 150, but you want to get $150 in 2 minutes. Use the link that we have in the description or chat at Bet365 for those 6 states. It's $365 on a $1 bet if you're in Kentucky. But all those other 5, Colorado, New Jersey, Virginia, Ohio, and Iowa, it's bet $5 and get $150 over at Bet365. You can't beat this, guys. Look, we always talk about how you never just want to be on one sports book. DFS is different, right? Like you're playing against the field. Everyone has access to the same contest, the same salary cap, the same salaries on players. It's not the same with sports betting because one book is going to have different line or different odds than the other. And over time, that's going to add up in a huge way if you're only on one book and you're making the mistake. Even if you're just a casual bettor, once in a while you like to get action down, get on as many books as possible. Make sure you're shopping the odds and make sure you're taking advantage of the fact that, a book like Bet365, who's been international for a long time, super reputable, but they're new in the United States. They want to give you money to get you over there. Takes 2 minutes to sign up. Throw a deposit down, verify yourself. You got to deposit $10, but only bet 5. If you're in Kentucky, deposit 10, only bet 1. Turn that into 150, whether that $5 bet wins or loses, or in Kentucky, whether that $1 bet wins or loses. Throw it on a big parlay. I don't advocate it usually, but throw it on a big parlay because you know that you got something coming to you regardless of whether you win or lose. It's an awesome deal. You're making $150 in 2 minutes. $75 a minute when you look at it that way. Any other world, you get this offer, you're like, yeah, I'll take that immediately. So Bet365, link in the description and the chat. Colorado, Ohio, Virginia, New Jersey, Iowa, it's Bet5, get 150. Kentucky is new to sports betting. Bet $1, get 365. Bing, bang, boom, boys. We're in. We're making money. It's the best money is the free kind, I'll tell you. Anyway, must be 21 years or older to gamble. If you or someone who has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. 18 plus in Kentucky. All right, tight ends.
Wait. Can I say one thing first, Loughy? Just because I asked for it just before you did the read, and Matt Giraldi came through. It says Josh Downs per game when Gardner Minshew plays more than 3 snaps, 7.7 targets, 6 receptions, 64 yards. When Minshew plays fewer than 3 snaps, 5 targets, 2.5 receptions, 32 yards. So I knew that there was some big difference between when Minshew's in there versus Richardson. So it sounds like he is better with Minshew in there. So thank you, Matt, for that info.
All right. Nice. Man, we have Ertz up there at 13%. He's fine, but he's just without a touchdown, he's dead. Even with a touchdown, he's pretty much dead. He had 9 points in a touchdown. It's ugly. Hawkinson at 12% without Jefferson makes a ton of sense against Chicago. Ingram's up there. Logan Thomas. I'll tell you, man, I don't care how ugly you guys think this is in chat. I get it. Understandable. I mentioned at the top of the show, if you joined in late, go back and listen or check it out. I tweeted it at Lafayette_D. The amount of big plays that the Commanders have given up this year, an insane amount. Like this would probably be bad across a 10-game sample, let alone 5. Pitts is 3,500. I'll take my lumps if I'm wrong. I don't care. 3,500 Kyle Pitts is just too cheap this week.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like this is you take a shot on Kyle Pitts in this matchup with Desmond Ridder against the Commanders. Yeah, I'll take some shots there. I don't want to go too crazy because I've been doing it for years and it's been biting me every single time.
This is the day. This is the week.
This feels like it could be the week. So I like the Kyle Pitts play. I obviously love the TJ Hawkinson without Justin Jefferson. I'll be going there. I don't know if I'll go to Zach Ertz. I feel like I've been avoiding Zach Ertz. I think I'm going to continue doing so, and it'll probably bite me because he gets so much target share. But
no, I'm with you.
Yeah, it's just tough for me to really want to play much Zach Ertz. Cole Kmet against that Vikings defense, also 4,600. Coming in at 6% ownership, 4% chance to be an optimal, so it doesn't look great in the tools, but I'd say viable. Goddard, similarly, you can go back there. Man, Sam Laporta is up to 5,600, and we have him at 1% ownership. That's kind of interesting. 1% owned Sam Laporta, given how good he's been so far. I'll take some shots.
Yeah, I think a lot of people probably end up going to Hawkinson here. If Laporta really is, in fact, that low owned. We'll see if Amon-Ra St. Brown is back. That'll be a deciding factor for me as well.
And it sounds like he will be.
Yeah, it does. I'm not positive. Dan Campbell said he's optimistic or whatever, but we've seen that backfire in the past. If I had to give you my favorite tight end right now at 9% ownership, it's Kyle Pitts. I mean, if we're talking about cheaper guys, you're right. Laporta's down there. He's dirt cheap. Irv Smith hasn't been even remotely involved, even when he's healthy. Oh, God. I don't know. Like Gesicki's down there, dirt cheap, but how good do you feel about that? Kylan Granson's 2,900 with Minshew. I actually don't hate him at 5%. It's an ugly position, man. It's a very ugly position this week. Again.
Yeah. No, I'm 100% with you. There's like, I feel like there have been some past weeks where I've been like, I want to play every tight end. This week it's kind of like, yeah, I'll probably pair my tight end with my quarterback a lot because it's going to be hard for me to really want to play any of these guys that much. Man, I didn't even realize the positive leverage we have on Tyler Higbee against his Cardinals defense. He's 4,000. We have him at 4% ownership, 16% chance of being optimal. We'll see if that holds closer to game time. I'm not sure if that is it wouldn't surprise me if that's not a bug, to be honest, but it also would not surprise me if that is. But currently we have massive positive leverage on Tyler Higbee. The spot is clearly good for Higbee. So yeah, 4% ownership. I could see myself getting there a bit. Yeah. Durham Smythe, I'm looking at 2.5% ownership. We got some positive leverage there. Was his snap counts back up last week? I know we had seen a big dip the prior week. Let's see. I've got it up. Yeah, he was back up to 81%. Oh, it was week 3. He was down to 36%, but that was just an outlier apparently because week 4 back at 85%, 81% in week 5. He's another guy who hasn't really done anything, but he's on the field enough on an electric offense that maybe I'll take a couple shots on Smythe.
All right. Avi, thanks for the super chat. Is second out of 1,300 entries, $9 fee, good for Hall of Fame? I'll throw you up in the Hall of Fame when Jordan and I recorded on Friday. If it's a nice win, congrats, by the way. It's not, you don't get the free month because it's top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. But yeah, dude, if you're rocking the Stochastic Avatar, stochastic.com/avatar, DraftKings, FanDuel, Owner's Box, Yahoo, doesn't matter. Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. Tweet your wins to us at Stochastic HOF on Twitter and get that free month. Up any month if you're choosing. If you wanted basketball, you got it. Up to $200 value. The Sims tool, all of our tools, you're getting them for free. And you said $9 fee. Avi, it doesn't matter if it's a nickel. As long as you're top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more and you're not chopping with 3 or more people, it doesn't matter. Like this package that you win with the Hall of Fame could be worth more than whatever you won in the contest, and you still get it. Entry fee means nothing. Just top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, and you got to be rocking the Stochastic Avatar. It's that simple. But congrats on the win. All right, Neil, we'll wrap this up. PJ Strategy Show is coming up in a couple minutes. Well, 6 minutes ago, so let's speed this up a bit. Yeah. But Top Stacks, this is one of these slates where the top stacks, I think there are going to be opportunities to get a little bit different. I'm not saying that we need to go crazy, weird, but like Rams up there, if you can afford it and you want to go Puka and Cup because Stafford isn't expensive, I love it. We have them with the highest by far rated stack. Miami against Carolina, totally get it. Cincinnati and Seattle, I think that game could absolutely shoot out. I love that. If I were to give you one spot, and I want you to give me one spot too, that you think could be maybe a little bit different here that isn't getting ownership, it sounds insane, but I'll take some stabs on a super cheap Atlanta stack. I'm not going 1 week sample being like, man, recent Desmond Ritter's awesome now. But if he's going to be sub 2% owned, Pitts is 3,500, 9% owned, Drake London not expensive, with how bad Washington has been at preventing the deep ball, I will take some shots on the Atlanta Falcons, even though there's basically no leverage here.
Yeah, I'm trying to find if there are any great spots that I like on the main slate that are getting like really low. Like I was going to say Josh Dobbs, but then I see he's actually getting a good amount of ownership here. We've got Dobbs coming in at 6% ownership. So like not as contrarian as I was looking for. Maybe take a couple shots on Minshew. You could play Minshew with Downs, or Pittman has pretty elite volume. No, there are no like super contrarian stacks that are standing out to me as stacks that I really want to play. I've been making my mistakes with the Bryce Young stacks. Maybe I'll do it again just because Carolina is going to need to be throwing the ball, but that offense has just looked really bad so far. I'm just thinking like maybe like they could score 2 touchdowns and lose 14-42 or something to that Miami team, and at their prices actually pay it off. So maybe I'll consider a Bryce Young, Adam Thielen kind of stack. But yeah, I gotta say the low owned stacks right now do not stand out to me as like there's none that look like I really want to play them, unfortunately, on this slate. That'd be one that I consider at 0.5% ownership going to Bryce Young. Maybe I'll take a couple shots there. Part of me wants to get really sicko and play a Mac Jones stack just because they're facing that Raiders defense that is really bad. Mac Jones kind of playing for his job, I think, at this point. Maybe I'll take a couple shots there on Mac Jones. But yeah, honestly, the low owned stacks, I think the good stacks are low enough owned that I'd rather just go to like 6% owned Rams. Like that's an actual good stack, or 7% owned Bengals. Like so I don't know that I'm going to get super contrarian with my stacks this week.
I get it. By the way, though, I just built out a team while you were doing that, while you were talking right there. I built out a team with Ritter and Pitts and London. Like if this were a large field, you can do whatever you want. This is crazy.
Yeah,
listen to this. Like this is literally a 30-second build. We'll close with this. Ritter, Mostert, Swift, London, Devontae Adams, DJ Moore, Kyle Pitts, Travis Etienne, and then any defense at 2,500 or lower.
That is sick. Yeah,
that's great. Like you can do whatever you want.
Man, if you just get that Falcons stack to hit, like that's going to be a solid lineup. Yeah, that's funny. That's interesting. That's definitely an intriguing stack.
Yeah, only because you can do anything. You can pretty much
the rest
do
of your
whatever
lineup.
You want.
Yeah, you don't even need them to hit for that much. Like
yeah, like what if they both score and
Right.
they have like 80 yards and a touchdown each or something, and Ritter gives you 22? You probably would be enough.
Yeah, at those price tags, definitely.
Good show, man. Follow Neil at PlayerQDFS on the Twitters. Go and do it. And follow me at Loughy_D, LOUGHY_D. And PGA Strategy Show coming up next. Appreciate you guys hanging out as always. You are the best. Thanks for being patient with us. Remember, Owner's Box to get the free week. Link in the description. You don't need a promo code, just a link. Bet365 and you're in those 6 states, either 150 from 5 or 365 from $1. Brock, that's the Castic Avatar. Show some love. Join the team around here, and we'll catch you back here tomorrow for the NFL Matchup Strategy Show at 11 a.m. Eastern. Peace.